Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Peter Jennings, and I go by CSURAM88 across the daily fantasy industry, and excited to be back again here at FantasyLabs doing another lineup review. I'm going to be reviewing lineups from the wild card weekend, including two lineups in the Thunderdome, in addition to the DraftKings 2 million quarter millionaire tournament for the wild card weekend. So let's take a look here at the Thunderdome contest. Certainly a fun tournament. Was not fortunate enough to place in this, but feel pretty good about my process and the teams that I made, and we'll be reviewing that. So first team that I made here was pretty much a game stack, or a bigger game stack of the Seattle game. Was hoping that game potentially could shoot out a bit. Went with Russell Wilson, who was the most popular quarterback in the field. Ty Montgomery, who was really low owned. I ended up pivoting. I had Le'Veon Bell originally, but after the team did poorly, I moved to Ty Montgomery and Antonio Brown, just trying to pivot. So I had Russell Wilson, Ty Montgomery, Zach Zenner, who was a really popular play, Doug Baldwin, who ended up being a must play, as well as a really popular play, Antonio Brown, Paul Richardson, Ebron, Jimmy Graham, and the Texans D. And I went for the two tight ends and kind of the game stack here. Doug Baldwin was a critical guy you had to have, 47% here owned in this tournament. And things just didn't really pan out with Russell Wilson. Basically, this was a week where if you didn't have Aaron Rodgers, you were in trouble in tournaments, and that was the case here. So the other tournament, I went with a huge stack with Big Ben. I went Big Ben, Lamar Miller, Zach Zenner, Jarvis Landry, Eli Rogers, Sterling Shepard, Jared Cook, Le'Veon Bell, and Texans D. And I had to pivot around with this lineup as well, just a little bit after I didn't have Doug Baldwin here. So ended up originally was going to have Big Ben and Antonio Brown as well, but moved Le'Veon Bell to this lineup and had him in the flex, and just didn't pan out with Big Ben and Eli Rogers. They did not have a great game, but certainly don't hate my thought process here, stacking up Ben with Eli, Le'Veon Bell, and then Jarvis Landry. So, a team that I feel pretty good about. You can look at the percentages here. I thought Sterling Shepard was a great play on the weekend, and Jared Cook was also a really solid play. But yeah, this was a pretty chalky team in terms of ownership, with the exception of Big Ben. So taking a look at who ended up taking it down, we have Cuba Sugar One, who actually won and got second without Aaron Rodgers, which is pretty incredible. But nice team here with Stafford, Le'Veon, Zenner, Doug Baldwin, Marvin Jones, Jarvis Landry, Jimmy Graham, Randall Cobb, who was really the key, and Texans D. So probably was a late swap here to Randall Cobb, which was really sharp. Randall Cobb was injured coming to the game. I ended up having zero Randall Cobb across the industry, but ended up getting cleared and active, and was a really good pivot here that ultimately helped Cuba Sugar take this down. And the second team here, again, Randall Cobb was the key with Eli Manning. You can look through the team here, a couple busts, but having Randall Cobb, Jarvis Landry, and Le'Veon Bell really helped Cuba Sugar take this down. So hope this was helpful for you guys looking through. You can see some familiar names. I'll be reviewing the bigger Thunderdome that they actually have for the divisional round, which I'm really excited about. Taking a look here at the quarter millionaire teams, my best team was a Rodgers team with Devontae Adams, Doug Baldwin, Devontae Parker, Will Tide, Jared Cook, and Texans with Le'Veon Bell and Zenner. Good team, just didn't have Cook and didn't have didn't have Randall Cobb and didn't have Rawls. I ended up with zero of both of those guys, which was a mistake based on their performance, but you have to take a stand, and I certainly don't feel bad, especially about fading Randall Cobb. Maybe on some of my teams where I was dead, I should have late swapped more to Cobb, but wasn't feeling too confident about him, and I did maneuver some of these teams with different guys. So this was my best team. Scrolling down here, I made 150 teams, all on FantasyLabs. Not a great tournament week for me. Ended up being pretty solid in cash, just because I had Doug Baldwin, Le'Veon Bell, and Zenner everywhere, but not a good tournament week for me. Looking here, we have Russell Wilson, Ajayi, Le'Veon Bell, Bolden, Richardson, Tate, Graham, Ebron, and Raiders D. Don't hate this team because it's really just a game stack in the passing game of Detroit and Seattle, which could have been a shootout. Again, there was only 4 games, so you had to take some risks there. And Le'Veon Bell, Ajayi, I didn't have very much of, and he didn't pan out, but don't hate this philosophy. Basically, having a game stack there and then hoping that the other games don't shoot out by having the running game of Le'Veon and Ajayi. So pretty poor score, some bad scores across all these lineups, but certainly was fun to sweat the games. Let's take a look here at the winning lineup, which is a really great lineup considering it won without Aaron Rodgers. Russell Wilson, Le'Veon Bell, Zach Zenner, and then here's where the team basically won it. The receivers, Doug Baldwin, Randall Cobb, Jarvis Landry, and Devontae Adams. So huge scores across the board there. And then the Steelers D. So pretty surprising, given that, this team didn't have Aaron Rodgers or Rawls, the highest scoring running back and quarterback, and still took it down for 250,000. So pretty cool. Again, Cuba Sugar up here with Aaron Rodgers. This team did have Randall Cobb again pivoted in the flex. So one thing I took away is probably a lot of swapping here to Randall Cobb. So congrats again to Cuba Sugar and really well done. A nice team here with Rodgers and everyone else. So hope this was helpful for you guys. The divisional round is going to be awesome. Really excited for it. 4 great games and a lot of studs to play. So I think it's going to be a really interesting slate. Again, Peter Jennings, I go by CSURAM88 across the daily fantasy industry. And as always, looking to see more Fantasy Lab subscribers at the top of the leaderboard.